Well, hello and welcome. I'm Wendy Rose Williams, and this is the Waking Up Spiritually podcast. We're so glad you're joining us. Greg Kirk and I are here live the second and fourth Sunday of the month at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And you can also check out, we record the programs, and you can join us live in the Waking Up Spiritually group on Facebook, or you can check out the archives of the recordings at the wakingupspiritually.com website, on YouTube, and will soon be on the podcast apps. So I'm a past life adventure guide. I help people release that pain, depression, and anxiety that's just weighing you down and stopping you from leading that happy, healthy life filled with purpose that you'd really like to be enjoying. My website is wendyrosewilliams.com, my full name. And I'm going to turn it over to Greg, who's going to introduce today's topic and kick us off with some slides.
Yes. Hi, I'm Greg Kirk. I can be found at gregkirk.com. That's spelled Greggkirk, as well as LymeRecoveryClinic.com. I help patients with Lyme disease, but I also have an energy healing practice where I help people remove blockages that are slowing them down either physically or energetically or spiritually. And I also run an online group healing circle that we just had earlier today. And it's like a spiritual lab, I call it. We are experimenting and having transformative experiences every time, every week, every Sunday. So if you want to, if you're curious about that, reach out. Click the events tab at gregkirk.com and you'll see when the next one's scheduled. It's always on a Sunday, and depending on the times change on Sunday, but that's where we are. So today we are going to be talking about channeled information that both Wendy and I have received through our own practices. So this is a topic is near and dear to my heart because I love receiving information that I had no knowledge of prior to receiving it. So that's how I know it's not coming from me. And I'm sure, Wendy, you can corroborate that. The information is always surprising, and it's just wisdom, it's the best stuff. So we felt it was our duty today to share this wisdom that, that we've been able to tune into and share it with you all so you can benefit from it as well. So I'm going to, let's do the screen share thing. Here we go. And there we are. So this is a little bit of a review slide. So Wendy and I did a full broadcast several weeks ago about this, a big chunk of information that came in. Most of the information in these slides has come in through, like I said, my spiritual lab at the online group healing circles, but some of it also comes through during regular energy healing sessions. Most of them are by phone. So really how the format works is a patient and I get on the phone together. We both get into a meditative state. I recite a protection ritual and an invocation, and then I just start engaging with that person's energy body. So typically the idea is to look for blockages that might be slowing the person down. Sometimes they give me clues as to what might be wrong. But during this healing process, the guides, their guides, and sometimes my guides come in and just start giving this great information. So this also happens during the online healing circle. So this is a different situation I run through Zoom, and it's a group of people, usually anywhere between 6 to 16 people. And they're all on camera, and so am I. And we usually do a little bit of interaction prior to the session, just kind of setting an intention, and then I do the same kind of protection ritual and invocation, and then stuff just starts happening, So information comes through. Sometimes we have what I call special guests, so higher level beings, sometimes archangels. Today it was, I'm not sure who it was, but we got some phenomenal information today.
That's wonderful.
That's off the slide. That I'll just say is that there's no difference between you, the creation, and the creator itself. We're all together. We're all one and same. And it was a very emotional session today. But anyway, getting to this slide here, and one of the best bit of information I've gotten during these sessions is, like I said, when I'm doing an online a healing over the phone, I connect to a person's energy body, and then I see, or kind of sense more than see, a group of guides around that person. One of the guides I got the information is that person, like outside of time and space. At first I used to say it's that person in the future, but it's really that person is not affected by any kind of time. So, and I say person, it's a piece of that person's energy. So I'm calling it the oversoul. So this oversoul has an awareness of all the lives that have happened prior, has an awareness of future lives set up, and is in a dimension where there's no time. And Dolores Cannon, if you do any readings of her work or see her videos on YouTube, she talks about this idea of an oversoul. This is, she's gotten a lot of great information where the oversoul interacts with her during a typical healing session, a regression, a hypnosis regression session as well. So anyway, this information came in, and it's to my surprise, the oversoul started to say, we are the most active guide who participates in the sessions that you're doing here. We're the most active one. We're the ones giving you the information and giving you the advice and trying to heal the energy body of ourselves in this time and space. So that was really interesting information. The guides also say, we will never do your homework for you. In other words, you're here to go through some experiences, and they're not always fun. And you're here to learn and to progress. And you can't progress if somebody does your homework for you. In other words, that's kind of the funny way they were putting it. So the extent of how they help is to point you in different directions. And sometimes they do it kind of roughly, they'll throw obstacles in your path or something, or, have an illness happen to point you away from direction where you've been going. But always the idea is to help you. But they will never, just point the answer out directly. They'll nudge you. They give you these nudges. So the advice that they were giving is just, because of this, look for all of your guidance from within instead of without. The kingdom of heaven is within you, as they were saying, and don't look for exterior guides, because a lot of times that information isn't very good. It's not necessarily for you, and it's maybe not good for you, and it might be kind of like a trick. And there's one of the things I've been doing the past couple of weeks is pulling bad things and hooks and attachments off of people who've sought, help and energy healing and stuff kind of like outside of themselves. So.
And Greg, that fits perfectly with what I've been seeing and learning with clients is it's our higher self, it's our oversoul, and the guides are an aspect of us. So it really is back to your point of we're all one, and it's just looking within, as you said.
Yeah. We're so programmed when we come into this life to look for a savior, you look for an expert, look for an authority to help us get to a better place health-wise or instruction-wise. You get to a point in your life, you don't need that. And the best information comes from within. So the other thing that, again, this is a little bit of review, but this is the most pure information that I've never heard anything about that I've gotten through these sessions, is that there is an area inside your heart chakra. It's an area, so there's an area called the pranic tube, which is like a tube that runs from the very top of your head that goes actually out your perineum. It's not a real, or it's not a physical thing. It's a 2-inch diameter channel, energetic channel, and it runs through you. And it's an area that, I look to clear kind of like a drain. But so right around it, in the center of your chest, is this little bit of an orb, a little bit, maybe the size of a grapefruit, that I was completely unaware of my entire life, especially, my life of doing healing work. I never noticed it, never felt it or saw it or anything. And all of a sudden the guides are like, look at this area. This is where God is created, or God is connected to you. This is where you are connected to you. Like, this is where your higher, your consciousness resides. It's not in your brain. It's in this area here. This is like your umbilical cord. your spiritual or energetic umbilical cord, or where your umbilical cord connects to you. So I guess you'd say it's like your spiritual belly button, but it's an active portal at the same time. So it's an area where you're connected to the creator, you're connected to how you're expressing yourself in this lifetime. In other words, your physical body and your energy body. But it's also an area that you can actually travel inside and go through the other side. And it's like your own universe, your own personal universe. It's a fascinating place. They actually recommend that instead of going to the light, when you pass away, is to go through this portal and end up in this area where they warned ahead of time. It's going to be completely dark and there's not going to be nothing there, which scares some people. But they're basically saying this is where you can go to gather your energy and create, do whatever you want. You can create your own universe if you want. It's a fascinating stuff. So this is, there's a little bit of backup from the Bible where there's a famous scene in the Bible where the Pharisees said to Christ, if there's a kingdom in heaven, when's it coming? When are we going to know? And Christ said, it's not something that's going to come. It's not something that people are going to say, hey, the kingdom of heaven is here. It's already in you. It's already here. So that's some of the best information I've gotten yet. Here's some snippets of just some great one-liners that the guides have given. Love plus wisdom equals grace. Think about that. So two phenomenal things, universal or, unconditional love, and you add that to wisdom. And the whole idea is kind of connecting your heart chakra, the love center, with your crown, which, is your wisdom center. Connecting those two. And what does that equal? It equals grace. And they're saying walking in grace is walking in the light of the creator. Just poetic,
What a perfect illustration too. That's just perfect.
Just powerful stuff. As this stuff starts coming through, and then we speak about it in the online group healing circles, people are like, did you write that down? I don't want to forget that, because we don't usually record them. I feel kind of, I don't know, superstitious about that, but I do record them. And in fact, today we had such a big session where everybody's like, Greg, you got to start recording these things, because the stuff coming out is just, it's classic stuff. So another one that came through that me and a few other people really enjoyed is the creator was saying to a patient, you're not going to think your way out of this. You're going to feel your way through it. And the point being is that, first of all, you're not going to figure this out mentally. But the second thing is that you got to get away from it. You got to get out of it, whatever the struggle is that you're in. And the guide said, you're going to feel your way through it. So the shortest way, around something is through it. Don't go around it.
We have to be willing to feel our emotions.
Yes.
So
yes, exactly. So it's not always bad to have a breakdown. It's not always bad to lose it emotionally. Sometimes that's part of the learning process.
Say part of the process versus getting stuck in that left brain and just looping there.
Yeah. Otherwise, we've talked about this in other broadcasts, but the road you take to avoid that dog bite, the dog shows up anyway, and the bite feels worse. So this came through. This information about holding the light came through. We were doing a very big clearing in the online healing group, and there was a lot of light coming into our energy bodies, and we were just bursting. And the guide said, okay, now you feel good. We filled you with light and energy, and you guys are just buzzing. How do you hold on to this? And I was like, oh my, great. Yes. How do you hold on to it? So one of the things they said is to do, some sort of energy healing where you do a clearing and you remove blocks. So basically you remove energetic blocks to keep you clear. The other is just to take care of yourself. I mean, this is, this is an earth-shattering news, right? Your body's your temple.
Practice we've talked about.
Oh, yes.
Podcast on.
Yes. A spiritual practice, of course. This got into physical stuff. Take care of your body, eat well, sleep well, and remove yourself from stress. So, give your body a chance. It's hard to be spiritual when you're physically infirm. You're where you're not feeling well, you're not doing well, you're sick, or you've got a fever, you're in bed. I mean, it's tough to rise above that when Anyway, so just paying attention to those physical things. Maintain a positive attitude in all situations and always use grace in your interactions. So, they were making a big deal about saying to us, like, what's the softest way you can interact with somebody? Like, especially during arguments, what's the softest way you can do it? How can you use compassion when you're in the middle of an argument or when you're in you know, any situation? What's the best way to, can compassion be always on the tip of your tongue? So that was great information. Then they went further. They said, okay, that's how you hold the light. Here's how you expand it. And our minds were like, oh my God, this is great. So how do you expand it? So in other words, how do you kind of ascend, raise your vibration? So another kind of interesting, but not earth-shattering thing, do good deeds. In other words, they were more specific about helping others, service to others. If you've ever read The Law of One, there's polarity. You're either your service to self or your service to others. It's not light and dark, good and evil. It's really down to, are you helping other people or are you helping yourself? And in The Law of One, they say that as long as you're 51% helping others, your vibration will rise. So, and understand, so you can, if that is skewed in any way, if you're 89% helping others and not yourself, you might get sick. You might, I've talked to people about this. You might lose energy. You might, because if you're not you got to help yourself. It's the old analogy of when you're in an airplane and you have low pressure and the masks fall, you got to put it on yourself first, then help children or other people who are having a hard time. So it's the same idea here. Help yourself. Make sure you're all clear, you're healthy, and you're holding the light. But if you want to expand the light, then just start helping others. Then more interesting stuff. Hold a childlike wonder of nature and the creation. Be like a child and remove all expectations and have an naivete, so that you're not cynical and jaded and have, to put too many expectations and judgments on things. So that was pretty fascinating. Kind of like they were saying more or less like you come into the world almost perfect, and then you get kind of whatever, you get a nerd by your experiences and, impressions. People tell you who you are and how to act and all that kind of stuff. They're like, try to remember back to your earliest times when you just had a childlike wonder of everything and be that way, unravel all of that, unlearn all of your programming. Yeah. So, and then, they said, be mindful of the light expanding from within you. Just pay attention to it. Be aware of it. Like, notice that when you walk into a room, people look up and smile. If that's going on, you're on the right track. If you walk into a store and people are just like, hey, how are you doing? That stuff happens when you start shifting your energy. And that's
a direct response.
It is. It's a gauge, because you're basically a broadcast system from your heart chakra. You're broadcasting whether you're even aware of it. So the guys are saying, be aware of it, and crank it up, And then getting back to what you were saying, they said do a daily practice of spiritual hygiene. So something to retain your energy, something to expand it, and something to call your energy back if you feel you've had energy leaks. And then they just blurted something out in Latin one day. Excelsior ad infinitum. And we had to look it up. It just means onward and upward forever and ever. So,
oh my goodness, that is such a big deal, because when you don't know that expression and you hear words or expressions that come through, to me, that's such a validation that you're connecting and hearing well.
It's just kind of a blanket term of, onward and upward forever. Like, it's like, to infinity and beyond. Kind of thing.
Okay, Buzz Lightyear.
Right. Yeah. But so cool. So we're just buzzing in when these things happen. So here's some more just kind of like general information that I've been getting throughout the past 2 months. And it's just bits and pieces of advice. So number one, never invite a guide or a spirit into your energy body or field, like ever. It's like inviting a vampire into your house. Like they are set up to basically honor your free will. but they're always looking for ways to, what's the word? I'm looking for the word, but you basically turn your free will upside down or compromise it. And it's always by tricks. So don't, hearkening back to a slide, 2 slides ago, a lot of your best information and energy can come from within you. So you don't need to seek outside guidance and help so much.
So you're saying be sovereign.
Be sovereign, yeah. Don't invite anybody into your spiritual house, your energetic house. Seek all information, guidance, and knowledge from within. This goes with that. Connect with your oversoul, the version of you that is conscious of all lives, past, present, future. And Wendy, you and I have talked about this recently. Now is the time of cycle breaking. Be mindful of habitual behavior and seek to end it. There is a lesson in it. So you're going to keep repeating things that you don't like if you haven't learned the lesson. I think we all know that. So when these things keep repeating, it's not, you don't get mad at it and throw things. you stop and take a deep breath and examine the situation. Examine yourself mainly. What are you doing to keep this in play? Let's diffuse it. What will you need to do to diffuse it? It's usually by offering the opposite energy and thinking than the energy and the thinking that you were in to cause it. So.
Right. It's how can you rise up from that place where you're in this insanity loop?
Yes. Also, in taking it back to 30,000 feet, it's the time to break all of the old promises, tricks, contracts, curses, spells, and old agreements that do not serve you, that may exist in your energy body. So been doing a lot of this kind of clearing recently, and been getting this information about there's a lot of rules that apply to the earth now that don't serve mankind anymore. Very, very old, ancient, thousands of years old rules and things, the way society's been set up and so forth. And it's time for all that stuff to crumble and just basically have a new earth, have a new, age of Aquarius. So this was interesting. I've just found this out in the past few weeks. Not all harmful spirits are classically negative. So during my healing sessions, I've been saying, we're casting away all negative spirits, blah, blah, blah. And there was one patient in particular who we did all that. We cleared a lot of negative stuff, but he was still being bothered. He was being bothered by extraterrestrials. They're not classically negative, right? And plus there's trickster spirits that are not classically negative. Usually they're in the fairy world, but not always.
Right, because they're not black and white.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. So that's something to be mindful of. Now, the thing that is kind of a commonality with all these things is many of these beings are here to subjugate, that was the word I was looking for, your consciousness and your energy in a parasitic way. So they're they're using you as energy, as food.
To subjugate, like bring under their will.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's 2 things they do. Put you under their will, so they actually manipulate you. But the other thing, and they usually manipulate you into these loosh emotions, and that's spelled Loosh. And what it means is the lower emotions of like fear, anger, hopelessness, sadness, anxiety. Things jealousy, nothing that you want to experience. They feed off of that energy. Some beings, there are these spider beings in particular, that are so hard to deal with because they feed off of your anger. So they're anger inducing. So the first thing they want you to try to do is to fight them, which most
giving
people
them more fuel.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like an episode of Star Trek where they did an episode like this in Star Trek where there was this being that fed off of people's anger, and they were fighting and they were trying to fight it, and it was like getting bigger, and they're like, wait a minute, let's just laugh at it. So they started laughing at it and it dissolved. So okay, and then so here's just a random thing that I've been noticing over time is that many women who have had either miscarriages or abortions have a remnant, and it appears to me as a filament of the being that had been scheduled to pass through them their uterus, their womb, that is attached to the host sacral chakra. And this must be removed for the benefit of both beings. Because what happens is it slows the energy down of the woman, the host. And she uses, I've had women have to have hysterectomies, or they have really strong periods, or they have, change of life symptoms that are really rough, or infections and all this other kind of stuff. Once we
Or might not
remove,
be able to get pregnant, or might have miscarriages or ectopics.
yes,
There's a
they have all
myriad
these
of
extra
issues.
problems. It's because there's the energy slowed down. The other problem is these beings are stuck. These beings that were scheduled to come through. So it's kind of like they're in limbo. They can't take a new life. They got to wait for this to happen, this to be removed. So I've been doing a lot of this kind of work recently. So it's something I didn't know about. It wasn't on my radar. And anyway, that's
I can validate that, Greg. The first spiritual teacher that I worked with, she's known as the metaphysical mother, and she does a lot of that type of work, and does what she calls a chat room technique, where she talks to the soul that was meant to come through and didn't come through, and just does that releasing.
Well, that's very cool. So just real quick, we're not going to do this meditation, but if anyone wants this meditation, you know what I'm going to do? I wrote an article and it appeared in Natural Awakenings magazine, which is a national publication.
Could you share that link?
Yes, that's what I'll do.
Podcast, perfect.
Yeah, but just to kind of give you a quick overview, this is involving that orb area, that higher self, God spark orb that's in the center of you. And really what you do, you'll read the article, but you focus on this area. You allow energy and light to come through it. You can feel it happening. Your heart, your chest relaxes, and you start to feel warm. And then you spin energy around you. So it's like taking a spoon and putting in a cup of coffee and spinning it. What happens? Well, an eddy forms, or a vortex forms in the very center of the coffee, right? Well, that's what happens with you. It's called a torsion field. So when you spin the energy around you, it starts to pull good stuff through that orb center, right in the center of you. And it's phenomenal what happens. I'm having a lot of positive reports from people who are doing it on their own. You only need to do it about 10 minutes. What happens sometimes, and you can make this happen, is after the light expands out and actually goes around you, it's big enough to go around your entire body. Sometimes like a shell forms and you're in this sphere, and the sphere keeps all the good stuff in and keeps the bad stuff out. And you just it dissolves on its own after a while. But I've seen sacred geometric shapes, light codes, all kinds of stuff floating around like a snow globe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll share that link. And
oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. So Wendy, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right. Well, Greg, thank you. That's just all such great food for thought. Just a lot to unpack with what you've said. So some of the things that have been coming through for me from the higher self, from guides, just internal information via meditations, via past life regressions, a lot of it for me in the last 5 years or so has been in the area of youthing and de-aging, because we absolutely can, and I think should, request the best possible health, as well as wealth and harmonious relationships to live our life purpose. Because a lot of people just hesitate, and issues around self-worth and, do I deserve it? And is it okay to ask for this? And, we start comparing to others and just, but isn't it just that simple? Don't you deserve the health and the wealth and the harmonious relationships that you need to live your life purpose? So I'll just start from that place. And you can think about, what age did you feel your best? Maybe you're feeling your best now. But if not, what age did you feel your best? And you can just set your intent to be that age and just start meditating so that you're in that place, start to really feel it and enjoy it and visualize it. And you may start to notice the synchronicities in the numerology. Once I set my intent to be that certain age, it's like I would the only parking spot I would find would be like that number. And I would just see that number everywhere. And it's like, yeah, I'm feeling that certain age. Because guess what? Age is a human construct, just like time and space. I mean, these are just things we kind of organized for ourselves for simplicity. So I invite you to do that. And then back again, suggesting that daily spiritual practice, grounding and clearing your energy on a daily basis is really, really helpful. And I personally choose to connect daily with the fountain of youth energy, just as part of my morning routine and spiritual practice. And I see it as being located at that magnetic core of Mother Earth. So it's part of my grounding. And as I'm clearing my energy and grounding to the earth, I ask to bring up that fountain of youth energy. And you can also certainly be just aligning with your higher self and guides and just getting that all more integrated. So everything's not this like external being to you. So as Greg was saying, just going within. Certainly an important part of youthing, Greg already touched on too, of de-aging, is having that proper nutrition. I don't like the word diet. The word diet just turns me off. I feel like it's like lack. But it's just nutrition. It's just, what does your body need to eat and drink to not only survive, but to thrive. Because many of us, we're so blessed in the times we live in versus hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago, where we can, with some, thought and planning, get good nutrition and get that movement in. So whatever it is, your favorite exercise can be as simple as walking, being in nature, and also detoxing when you need to detox and just getting rid of, things out of your body that don't serve you, whether you're doing it via visualization and meditation, or whether perhaps you're using a product. Greg's got some products on his website, for instance, that you might use if you feel that you need to do a kidney detox, for instance, or whatever it might be. And also, it's a great reason to do a session. You don't just have to do a healing session because you're feeling a lot of pain or you're feeling a lot of depression or anxiety. It's perfectly valid to say, hey, I want to maximize here. I want to youth, I want to de-age, I want to just really self-actualize. So ready for the next slide, Greg. So a lot of my channeled information comes up via my own past life regression sessions. And some of them I'm sharing and writing in my next book, which is off with the editor right now. And the next book is called Regression Healing 2, Joe and Marilyn. So just read you a short passage from that on the topic of youthing. So what the hypnotherapist said was, and this was from a question I sent to her head, was she, referring to me, is noticing her sternum is moving and cracking a bit. She said she feels like she's getting energetically larger, but there's no weight gain. And I think that ties into Greg's point too about we're able to bring in and hold more light. And Yeshua, I had the wonderful experience from time to time that Yeshua will come into some of my sessions and speak as a guide. And his comment was, she's exactly right. This is a keen observation. This is part of the heart opening because the sternum is our breastbone. So it's kind of going down the center of our chest. This is part of the heart opening as she continues to raise her vibration to 5D and higher. We grow energetically larger as beings of light. The physical body needs to adjust. That's why I was feeling that cracking, and I was feeling it kind of in my collarbones too. This was about 4 years ago. The physical body needs to adjust. She's growing her light well, returning to her light body while still in a human body. I think that's a really important concept, that we can be our light body while still in a physical human body. And that is an important part of how we youth and how we de-age and how we feel healthy and happy and live that purpose. She's de-aging, also known as youthing. She doesn't need a medical doctor. Can you imagine if I'd gone to a doctor and said, I think my sternum's moving? I would have been like, what do we do with that? I'm going to gently adjust her bones in that area right now so this can be more comfortable. So that was done for me during the session. She's also more fully activating her thymus gland, which will help her bring in additional light. She'll continue to heal and de-age. Everyone is capable of this. I'm not special. That's what's important, is anyone can do this type of a healing session with me, with Greg, with whomever you're drawn to, and she's welcome to share this knowledge with anyone interested. I had to look up thymus gland after this session because Yeshua said it. It wasn't me saying it, even though he was speaking through me. And I'm like, what's the thymus gland? What does that do? Where is it? And it fit perfectly. It made perfect sense. So that's that type of validation, like when Greg is hearing that Latin being spoken, or you're learning new information that is just so helpful. All right. Next slide, please.
I want to say real quick, Wendy.
Yes, please. Anything to add, Greg?
Yeah.
Comment?
So the idea about having your light body blend with your physical body, we actually did an exercise 2 weeks ago in the online group Healing Circle, where we used that orb center, and the guides were saying, we're going to pull part of your light body into you now. So you're going to be a little bit of a blend, the right blend that you can handle right now of your light body and your physical body. So
that's
I hadn't thought of
perfect.
it being a youthing procedure, but yeah, of course, yeah.
Right. Because the Lemurians used to live thousands of years, like 6,000 to 7,000 years on Earth in a body,
Right.
because they had learned how to be their light body while in a human body. And I think it's also why they were reported to have been quite large, like 7 to 8 feet. So, and that just all kind of makes sense. So switching topics here, but continuing to pull that theme of interesting channeled messages and information that's been coming through. I've been getting a lot of neat, fascinating information about time travel. And isn't this something that just fascinates so many of us? Because think of all the movies, think of all the TV programs on this topic, and Google it. I mean, it just comes up again and again and again. And just a couple of definitions so that we're speaking the same language. I see telekinesis as the psychic ability to move objects. So that, that's back to anyone who watched the show Bewitched when they were growing up, and you're seeing, Samantha, open the window, or just doing these practical things around the house, moving things around. That's that ability to move objects with your mind, with your psychic ability. And astral travel, we all astral travel, but most of us aren't consciously aware of it. And that's when we're meditating or sleeping, and our soul travels without the body. And we go into the astral plane. We can go many places and have these, interesting adventures go on. And then some people can become quite conscious of it. And you may feel, as you're meditating or as you're falling asleep, you may feel that little pop as your soul goes outside of your body. So that's astral travel. Or you may feel yourself land as you come back in. So a lot of people, have described that. Time travel, what I mean by time travel is traveling, going to a different time with your current body, or you may shapeshift into a different type of body. So just for fun, I was thinking about favorite time travel films. Of course, the classic Back to the Future 1 and 2. And then there was a good TV series, Greg, I don't know if you ever saw Timeless, was on for 2 seasons. So they were using a time machine in that one. And the latest one I just found goes in a new direction. It was called Being Erica, and it's on Prime Video. If anyone's got Prime Video, all 4 seasons are free there, or you can get the first season free on YouTube. And what Being Erica does, it's time travel therapy. And she actually meets a therapist who can send her back in time to learn the lessons she missed, to get better outcomes. And of course, the rules that should apply, like for instance, her brother's passed on. She can't bring her brother back to life. She can't go back and change, the event that occurred, but she can improve herself. And there's also a lot of alternate timelines that start to come up, later in that program. So, it's presented as a dramedy. It's a drama with a lot of comedy. But I thought that one was just fascinating because of time travel therapy. Because when I think about it, that's what past life regression is
Right.
in
Yeah.
a lot of ways. But she doesn't have the ability to do it herself. So the therapist has to, send her, and is working with she and, other clients. So, all right.
One to add to the timeless movies is
Oh,
there's
sure.
a well done movie. It was made in 1992 called Orlando. It's
Okay.
based on a book written by Virginia Woolf. It stars Tilda Swinton. Um,
Okay.
and it starts off, she continuously, leads a life and then dies and then like reappears. So she has an estate. She's a man. She's in all, and it travels from I think like Revolutionary War era times to present day, and she changes sexes in the middle of it. She
Oh,
becomes
how interesting.
she starts
Yeah.
out as a man actually, and then becomes a woman.
Okay. And it's called Orlando. Okay, I
And
have to
it's
look for that.
fascinating. The name of the person never changes because it's still the same person, even
I
as
see.
a woman. So it's very, very intriguing, very well done too.
That is. Well, thanks for that. Yeah, there's just, people are welcome to post when we put this on the Facebook
Right.
book group. Put in
Good
some of
idea.
your favorites because there's so many. I mean, there's Outlander, there's just,
Oh
there's a
yeah, yeah.
lot of it in Star Trek and Star Wars. There's just so much. But
Yes,
all
you're right.
right, next slide, please. So here's another excerpt from Regression Healing 2, Joe and Marilyn, pertinent to time travel. And at that moment, Joe was speaking as my spirit guide. And again, I was the client in this session. And he was telling the therapist, the hypnotherapist, you may now move forward and end today's session. Please help her ground again and orient to the current day and time. Remember, she's a gifted time traveler, so we need to bring her back well. Back one slide.
All right.
To the current day and time. That was time was just changing there. Help her ground again via that garden that's down the staircase into the earth. Because I had started off that session and I had told the hypnotherapist right at the beginning, I'm not grounded. I've been doing everything to ground today. And Greg, you and I had done a session, and then this hypnotherapy session came up after it, where you and I had like rebuilt my grounding rods and my grounding protocols. So, and then Joe commented as we ended that past life regression session, I'm adjusting her homing beacon to always bring her back to her current life, to the present day and time. This will help her relax. She can never get lost. The abilities are within her. And isn't that a theme of what we're talking about today?
Yeah.
As we do in many of these podcasts. Home is within herself, wherever she is. She's not going to go through any of the terrifying time travel misadventures that make good film content. Because it would be a super boring movie or TV show if there were no, disasters and problems. And but I thought that was how perfect, to just have that be spoken, because just, to know that homing beacon just bringing me back to myself. And very related to time travel can be the concept of shape shifting. And shaman can be so wonderful with this. People can just really visualize, and as they meditate, see themselves taking on a life as a different type of being, something other than human. And you might see yourself as a wolf or as an owl or a fairy or a dragon or whatever it might be. A common one, a very uplifting one for a lot of people, is to be an aquatic, wonderful creature like a mermaid, a dolphin, a whale. So this just brings us back into that shape-shifting ability, whether it's visualization or whether it's literal. And you've had lives where you've done this. Hey, go to Disney's Little Mermaid. for that concept. So again, in regression healing to Joe and Marilyn, this time is my higher self speaking. So that wise part of me. This brings us back to her shapeshifter energy when we explore being a mermaid. We want her to let go of any negative associations with shapeshifting, as she's been smacked a couple of times for it. She's a master shapeshifter. That's part of what caused the severe scoliosis this lifetime, because I do have scoliosis, which is curvature of the spine. It's not from the shape shifting, it's from having felt smacked, having felt punished for shape shifting. It's a wonderful ability and skill to shape shift. She'll know when to use it at the right time for the right reasons. We'd like her to let go of restrictions. And this isn't true just for me. I think this is a message for many, many people, is why I included it. We'd like her to let go of restrictions, being told she can't time travel, shapeshift, be whatever she wants to be. This leads back to the confidence we talked about in earlier sessions. She'll now be able to connect the dots for the first time, why she had the contract with her former soulmate to inspire her to be fully in her power without abusing it. Also, that one of her life lessons is to let go of what will other people think. Because how can you shapeshift and time travel if you allow these restrictions on yourself? She's had a lot of work to do to learn to trust again, to establish pristine boundaries, and to set herself free. She's there. This should be celebrated. And this was the end of that past life regression session. All right. Next slide is why a mermaid? Because the therapist asked that question. He's like, why a mermaid? And my higher self said, let's have her go be a mermaid. It's so relaxing. She's had lots of mermaid and merman past lives, both in Atlantis and other lifetimes. Let's go to a true past life where Wendy was a mermaid. So this wasn't just, the collective consciousness. It wasn't just a visualization. And the therapist says, why a mermaid? And my higher self replied, because of the freedom of movement. So much of the earth is water. And it proves to Wendy she can breathe underwater and above water and survive anything she chooses to. Not only survive, but thrive. That's why we're bringing this up. There may be poor air quality coming up, and that tends to make her, and my cat is blocking it, uncomfortable. We want her to remember her magical mermaid lungs. So I thought that was just a great concept, because a lot of people do have a fear of water, of being underwater. I mean, COVID is a lung disease. There's a lot of just collective fear right now around not being able to breathe. So that's why I included this one as an example too, to look for how do we raise our vibration from that and move up from that. All right. So let's do a short meditation. How are we doing on time? Yeah, we're right on time here to do a 5-minute meditation. And this meditation is just going to help us with, it's an example of that shape-shifting and also some youthing and maybe also some time travel. So let me just duck down because Midnight knocked my notebook down here. Get my notebook. All right. So I invite you to just get really comfortable. You're welcome to close your eyes and just see yourself walking onto a beautiful beach. Let's just take a big breath in and get fully into our body as we do that. Take a big breath in through your nose and hold it for a moment as your vibration and frequency gently rise and you really get settled and comfortable in your body, feeling great in your body, very, very grounded to the earth that we have the privilege to live on. And now as you take a step onto that beautiful, pristine beach, just feeling that perfect temperature, feeling that wonderful warmth of the sun, feeling that sand underneath your feet and toes, not too hot, just the right temperature. Seeing that beautiful ocean, some gentle waves out there in front of you. And you're welcome to start walking on into that water as you prepare to shapeshift and to become mermaid, a merman, go ahead and dive in to that beautiful water and feel that bliss of no longer having to support your body, no longer needing to feel the effects of gravity, just able to easily float and swim, and feeling your body getting lean and strong, just so comfortable in that mermaid or merman body, easily morphing. You might notice your hair getting longer. You're just the right temperature. You may feel your bones and joints and any old injuries just gently releasing from your body. No gravity, getting healthy, getting younger. Welcome to tune into that fountain of youth energy. It's down there at that magnetic core of Mother Earth. And I'm going to be quiet now for a minute, just let you have your own adventure. Just explore. Be quiet for one moment while you do that. All right. Let's prepare now to come back to your body, giving our thanks and knowing that you can return here anytime. If that was restful, helpful for you, you're able to return here easily at any time. But right now, you're going to start to swim back to the shore. And as you do so, you just easily notice this nice rock. There's a big flat rock just above the water's surface. Pull yourself up onto that rock, and your body's going to change back to your human form if it hasn't already done so. You can just dry off there in the sun for a moment. Feel that healing power of the sun coming into your DNA, healing you at a cellular level. Feeling yourself gently youthing, getting younger, shape-shifting easily back into your human body. You're able to just visualize and put your favorite comfortable outfit on. And you're able to easily walk along that rock, which takes you right to the water's edge, and walk back out onto the beach, back into your human form, but able to return here to do some shape-shifting and youthing. And you can also time travel from this location at any time. So when you're ready, just gently open your eyes and you're fully back in your body, feeling younger, feeling wonderful. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being with us today. It was such a pleasure to have you here. And Greg, there should be one more wrap-up slide.
There we go.
Okay, always good to end with a moment of levity. So here's when shape-shifting goes wrong, but you still look fabulous. I thought that was hysterical. And just know, trust yourself. You can't make any mistakes. You're just going to follow your own guidance. And please join us again on February 28th, 2 weeks from today, the fourth Sunday of the month, at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, for this podcast. Oh, and I forgot to say happy Valentine's Day to everybody today. And again, we do record, so we'll check in a second if there's any live comments to answer, because you can join us live via the Waking Up Spiritually group on Facebook. And my website is here, wendyroseWilliams.com. From my website, you can request a complimentary 15-minute phone appointment to see if I can be of service to you. And Greg's website is there also. So let's just wrap up if there's any live questions or comments.
Just positive comments. Hi,
Okay.
love this. Hi, y'all.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right.
Nice.
Very good. Very good. Anything
right.
else to wrap up, Greg?
No, I really enjoyed
Okay.
this today.
Okay, wonderful. Well, me too. And we love to hear suggestions from everybody if there's particular topics. Certainly go back to the archives, but just let us know if you've got topics. Let us know how things are going for you, and if there are things that we can be of assistance with. We're just here to serve and enjoy this lifetime on Earth with one another.
All right, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.